in a cookie jar. It was shaped from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see the lines. I have another. Well, her hair is black. It used to be red, and it used to have another cup of coffee. Coffee, if you don't mind. Well, I'm staring at her shoulder, but it's not what I see when I hear two fellas fighting in the booth across from me. So I wipe away the ashes from an empty counter seat, and I wished I wasn't homesick. I wish I was asleep. Well, I hold her like a blanket up against my chin. Well, we used to be like that, but now we're like this all the time. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind.
I think we're live. It should be live. It's still acting up. For a reason. I don't know why though. You guys just a second. We're gonna try to figure this out. Title screen. If you guys hang out with it, make Paul work. Paul's out with it. So title screen. Hear the music again.
Well, I used to keep my money in a cookie jar. was shaped like a cat. It was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, her hair is as black as an alleyway, and it used to be red, and it used to be blonde. Truth is, her hair changes color all the time. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind.
And there we are. Sorry, guys. We
You know what?
You're right.
Don't start the show with an apology. Every show has a signature that you know it's them. In our case, it's technical difficulties. Chances are, Paul and Mike are going to be late. They might be late live in front of us as they scramble to make it work. Or there might just be some music playing. And hey, we like this song. We'll sit around for a few minutes. I'll get another cup of coffee. Maybe they'll be working by the time I get back.
Get another cup of coffee. It keeps telling you over and over.
Can't apologize for what has now become our signature, which is
we should put that underneath another cup of coffee, and we'll be, please stand by.
I think we live in an age of difficulties. We're pandemically challenged. We're financially challenged. We're challenged on so many levels. We're politically challenged. I think that you and I being technically challenged is truly the least of the few people who watch us.
I think you're right. Plus, they may not have even noticed.
The ones that are tuned in will be amused. They'll be like, they did it again. These guys are incredible. You had to push a few buttons. How hard can it be? I get technical on our chat page. I get technical advice from people saying, "Hey man, you have some vocal problems. Can you do this?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Mikey does everything. If this, we're okay." But I don't know.
Well, people.
So part of our fan base is now giving us technical advice because it's I'm probably an irritant and a source of comedy for them.
I know it is a source of comedy for some of my friends, yeah. And
everybody likes to know, no matter who you are and how good you are at anything. It's nice to know that somebody's fucking up. Just makes you feel a little bit better about yourself.
And the other thing that's kind of funny is that I keep, whenever I invite any of my friends to come watch the show, that's what I get is, you got to turn this down. That ain't loud enough. Whatever.
Yeah, I avoid that by not inviting my friends.
Right. So you just invite, the people that love and want to come and hang out with you because they want to come.
My friends and my fans. So like when Phil Gusman tunes in, yes, he's a fan from North Carolina, but he's also one of my best friends who I've stayed at his house countless times and know he and his wife. And so, yeah, and Mark Hughes in Maryland. They are my friends. Local friends I didn't tell. Because then they were going to want to.
To be fair, guys, we are Skyping this whole thing together long distance. So yeah, sometimes Paul's little words don't come out. But imagine you're on a Zoom call. That stuff happens.
And look, if anybody really is bothered by it, we could use a budget. We'd love to upgrade to studio gear and get a fan base that demanded that I wore, satin
is cool.
Nice.
Satin is way cool. You're right. I mean, if they really wanted to help us out, they could.
Speaking of fan bases, so Mikey, I did a thing. Jet Black and Jealous, my first solo release, came out in 1992 on a little tiny label in Georgia called Little Fish Platters. To be honest, it came out because I was drunk and in a crappy mood, which happened to me a lot back then. Cowboy set opened for the quote-unquote hottest band in Atlanta. And when we saw them at soundcheck, they're like, "What do you play?" And we're like, "We play original rock and roll from New Orleans. What do you do?" And they said, "Oh, we're like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but different." And we just kind of looked down on our feet because every place we went around the country, whenever you asked a local band what they did, they say, in 1993, they say, "We're like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, but different." So I didn't really care for the Chili Peppers all that much, to be completely transparent. And I really didn't care for the bands that were like the Chili Peppers, but different. So I was just in a shitty mood. I was drinking Wild Turkey, and something I don't do anymore for many, many good reasons. And this is one of them. And I was sitting in front of the bar, Little 5 Points, in a crappy mood, drinking Wild Turkey, mad and mean. And this woman walks up. She goes, "You look like you're in a terrible mood. You just played a great set. What's wrong with you?" And I looked up at her and I snarled, all drunk. You want to know what's wrong with me? I hate the band I'm in. I hate the band that's on stage. I write great songs and nobody cares. And I put my drunk head down and she puts a card in my face and she goes, I care, send me your stuff. So I sent her my stuff, which was a Tascam 4-track cassette recording that Roger Manning made for me in New York before I went home so I could have all my New York songs. It made it in 1987, now it's 1993. And I give her my cassette and she calls me back in the days when you would call people on the telephone. And she said, I really love this. I want to put it out. And I said, great. How much budget do I get to record it, in a studio? She goes, I don't want you to go into a studio. I said, but this was recorded on a 4-track Tascam cassette recorder. She said, yeah, but the guy is singing him like he thinks nobody's ever going to listen to him, and you'll never capture that feeling again. So just use this, whatever you got to do technically. So I brought it to Richard Byrd, engineer in New Orleans, who recently passed. And I said, Rich, can you get the tape hiss out of it? And he said, well, nobody ever asked me to before, but let's see what happens. And he did. He cleaned it up to where you could barely hear the tape hiss, if at all. And Kathy released it. And I stayed with Cowboy Mouth, but there's a lot of times I think I should have followed her muse of me, her version of me, and been that singer-songwriter guy, because now it's almost 30 years later, and people love this CD of mine so much. I've released 19, and I don't know that I've had any that people reacted more strongly to than Jet Black and Jealous. But for me, it came out on CD, just as vinyl had died. And my whole life, I dreamed of making an album, and it didn't happen. I had a CD. And so this year, for the pandemic, I decided my son-in-law, Adam Campen, gave me a turntable for Christmas 2 years ago. I decided I wanted to have my albums on vinyl. And so now Jet Black and Jealous is available.
There it is. I can see
on
that's
vinyl.
Beautiful. Look at that.
You can get it at the Louisiana Music Factory. My friend Rick Ernhauser did the lovely artwork.
Nice.
And you can see the smile on my face at the thought of, in fact, here's the actual truth. I've had it now for like 5 days, haven't listened to it. Just wanted to have
To
it
be fair,
on vinyl in
you've
my
already heard it.
next to the beat. And Willie Nelson and John Prine, I wanted my album in there. And so I printed 500 for the vanity of me having one and maybe 24 people around the country being interested enough to buy some.
You might know this story. Not a lot of people do. But one of the reasons I named my band Beaten Path was so that it would be next to the Beatles in the record bin, just in case, we were selling records. And at one point, we were at Tower Records, and we were next to the Beatles in the record band. Now, you can look at it two ways. The way I looked at it was maybe they would keep going through the Beatles, and there's so many records, they'd find themselves going, oh, wait, what is this? How did I wind up here? Because it's right next to the Beatles,
Okay, so this is how unoriginal that thinking is. When Fred and I were kids in 1983, we had a band with Vance DeGeneres and Steve Walters and John Herbert, and we called it the Backbeats. And one of the reasons for the choice of that name was, of course, beat being in the name, but the back was before Beatles. So on your way to the Beatles in the record bin, you would be passing Backbeats. You would see beat and pause for at least a second thinking, Beatles? No, Backbeats, keep going. Yeah. Might happen for a second.
So we both suffered from that same delusion, is what you're telling me.
We both had the delusion that we could somehow be associated with the Beatles. Hell, on my last record, I'm a Song, I'm a Story, I'm a Ghost, I went all the way to Liverpool.
Right, that's right.
You know what I'm saying? In the 90s, this band from Liverpool, Treehouse, was on Hootie and the Blowfish's record label. And Hootie had gotten us signed by taking us on tour in arenas. And so to pay them back, we took their band on tour to the places we were playing, which were much smaller, of course, but they were from Liverpool, and everything they said just sounded great to me. It sounded like the Beatles to me. So I wanted to be friends with them. And their guitarist, Keith Thomas, used to play beautiful nylon string flamenco guitar, and he'd sit in on my solo sets. And Pete Riley, an amazing songwriter, brilliant singer, toured with Edwin McCain as his lead guitar player for years, and then moved back home to be with his family in Liverpool. So on my last record, I was recording Lafayette, and I decided I'm going to write songs with Pete in Liverpool, and I'm going to fly over. Okay, it's an even weirder story than that. My pal Decay, that I wrote the Nine Lives musical with, his sister is married to a very famous Russian artist. And so he had an idea to write a theatrical musical version of the Nutcracker Suite. So they flew us over to stay at a castle in France, Châteauroux, outside of Châteauroux, France, to write songs for 10 days to be turned into a Russian musical. It was one of the most strange experiences of my life. And I realized deeply in my soul that I am not a country boy. Because we pulled up to the small town on the train. I thought, oh, nice, cool little small French town. I can dig this, cafes and wine, and I can drink coffee in the morning while everybody's asleep, and we're leaving this little town. Okay, well, that's cool. We're on our way down this little road, and there's, another little town. I don't see any, is there any cafes? No, this town, there is nothing. I mean, there's nothing. People live here, but that people live here and that's it. And I can't eat. No, you must go back to well, that's like 20 minutes back. Okay, well, we're still driving further and further into the country to a walled chateau that's an hour walk and an hour bike ride to anywhere where you still can't buy something to eat or drink or anything. And I'm going to tell you, I wish I were one of those people that like nature. I really do. My brother-in-law, Eric Williams, he's my age. You put him out in the woods and he's or in the ocean or anything with nature, and he smiles like a 10-year-old boy, and I love it about him. It's adorable. All I can think of is, it's hot. I'm wearing this.
Where's my bug spray? And who's making the coffee?
Like everywhere. There's bugs, and the windows are open because it's France and they don't have AC. The windows are open. It's summer. It's August, and I'm blowing in hot air, and there's flies on my butter, and this doesn't. Country boy. I don't, well,
yeah, I understand. I understand that.
It takes me a while to settle in and not want to kill the country. Like every bug that crosses my path, I have to meditate and go, no, he's your brother, and he's a guru in drag. You can't kill the guru in drag. Okay, calm down, man. Let your anxiety subside. But to calm down, really, I would have to get somebody to give me a ride into the Châteauroux 30 minutes away so I could sit. I didn't even want them to accompany me. Somebody would be like, I'm going to go shopping for vegetables. Would you like to? Yes, I want to go shop for vegetables. And go sit and order literally a glass of coffee for one hand and a glass of wine for the other, because I didn't know how long I was going to be there. The experience of having coffee and wine in a cafe in France.
What's great about that whole story is it sounds like, you're listening to it, you're like, oh, yeah, I wish I had your life for 1 minute. You go to a castle in France to songwrite for 10 days, and then you go into the story, and it's like, this is the most miserable thing I've ever done in my entire life. I'm stuck out in the middle of nowhere. There's no coffee.
I was with people that loved it, too. I was with a colony of artists, and, of course, the hosts we had a fantastic dinner every night. We'd, go to the main dining room and his long dining table, and there would be guests from Germany and from France, and Coleman's sister Sarah speaks 7 languages. He's fluent in Russian and German and Spanish. And so she's minds going. And the host only speaks Russian, and he's working on an exhibit of tiny figures in melted candle wax. So as the dinner candles melt, he's already working on his art. Very surreal scene. I was and the soup was delicious. His sisters are like the master of soup. Coleman hates soup, so his warning to me about the trip was, she's going to serve soup every night. Part of the meal every night. I couldn't wait to have the soup. So there were some wonderful things about it, but I did thoroughly and completely come to accept that I am not Mother Nature's son.
So yeah,
I am.
You can play that song all day long. I'm not falling for it. You're not getting me on this. I am not Mother Nature's son, right?
I tried, man. And after the flood, John Boutte says to me, "I'm gonna take you out in nature, baby, and calm you down. I see you anxious from losing everything." So he takes me out to Bayou Signet, a couple of friends, and he immediately relaxes. John Boutte loves nature. He lives in nature now, and he immediately is like, "Baby, feel that? It's so peaceful." And as he's saying that, I look up, and I see that every tree above me is a spider web with spiders as big as my fist, hundreds and hundreds of spiders all through these trees. And I'm just thinking, if they drop out of those trees, they could eat me alive. And I was walking along, still waxing poetic, going, and baby, just feel the stillness of the water. And I look down at the water, and there's a little baby alligator, about maybe, foot long, swimming next to us. Now, we're about 3 feet off the water, so it's not like he's going to jump out of the water. He's a little baby alligator. But I say to John, "Hey, John, there's a little baby alligator there. Should we be concerned?" And he goes, "No, baby, little baby can't hurt you." So we keep walking because John loves nature. He's not afraid. And it comes to a place where we walk down the 3 feet from the water to a little platform where we're right at water level. And John's still at peace. He's just smiling with his eyes closed, going, look at it, people, just soak it in. You're too tense, soak it in. And I look and I say, John, the mom is swimming towards us. The mom is coming towards us right now. This baby, they're more scared of you than you. I'm pretty certain they're not. And oh, watch. And he raises his arms over his head and he stamps his foot on the platform. He goes, yeah! And the alligator doesn't break paws. He keeps swimming towards him. And I go, he didn't seem to be afraid of that. And John goes, trust me, baby, he's afraid of this. Yeah! Of course, the baby gator took a little turn away because she saw some food or something. And the mama gator just followed the baby. As she's looking at her, she could care less about us. And John turned to a friend who was with us, and I said, the alligator wasn't scared. And John smiles, and his friend opens his coat, and he had a little gun with him. So he's like, I could take care of that gator. And I'm like, well, you could have told me that because now I need underwear. You know, I'm gonna to anybody out there watching, if you're ever near a gator and he's swimming towards you like 2 feet away, yeah, does not.
It doesn't help.
It doesn't do anything.
Oh my God. Yeah, I love that one though. He's more scared of you than you are of it. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not sure I agree.
I was certain that I was more scared of him. Now I'm certain that John was not more scared of the alligator than the alligator was of John. But, you know, John is tiny. So the alligator, if he's looking at the two of us, he's thinking, well, there's a little piece of meat there, but look at that big fat guy. I can smell weed on him. He just had some pizza. He's like, that's like eating Saturday night. I could have me a Saturday night with that.
Now, I'm the old bear joke, like where you don't have to run faster than the bear. You just have to run faster than the guy you're with. I am the bear joke now because I ain't running very much anywhere. So I have to be careful going in the woods because I'm definitely the butt of that one.
Well, we've talked about the woods before, and I know I have some friends out there that are fans of the woods, and I love you for it. I am not that guy. I love the woods from behind a nice big picture window in a climate-controlled room that serves either latte or good wine, or both preferably, with a little nosh. Doesn't have to be a fancy meal, a little nosh to just make sure you're, you know, taking care of yourself.
Yes.
That's a nice view of nature.
It's in a bay window. That's all you need. Really, like in the back, it's nature, and you walk out the front, and there's a street with cars.
There's a street with you don't even need cars. A cobblestone walkway to a nearby cafe.
Right. We don't need a freeway in front. All right, I haven't been paying attention to the chat. Let me see what's going on here. All right. So Philip's on our side. He says it's still better than the Zoom call. People are asking about where they can order, if they can order it online, your new record. So.
Yes, you can, strictly through the Louisiana Music Factory website, and I will gladly post a link on this thread. From Mark
Membrilla.
Mark Hughes.
He just actually.
Well,
yes, thank you, Mark.
Tell him thanks.
I think you just did.
Because you know, for two reasons. One is I'm a dreadful businessman, and me trying to send the albums out myself would be a disaster. Two is, I know that it's been a challenging year for Louisiana Music Factory. Barry's a friend of mine for 30 years. He's kept that record store going, and I want my CDs to be available exclusively through the Music Factory to honor my 30-something year friendship with Barry and his 30-something year commitment to the musicians and the music of New Orleans.
Oh, Eddie says your record's now between Rush and the Sex Pistols. So this record,
it's pretty exciting. You know, to be right between Rush and the Sex Pistols is like literally two of my least favorite bands. So it's fitting that he would put me there. In fact, I'm pretty sure he'd have put me there either way.
Mark said his issue with nature seems to be allergies. Do you have that issue when you go out into nature, allergies?
I don't have allergy problems. I do have, I'm allergic to dirt.
Wait a second, not liking something and actually being allergic are a little different.
Okay, the first time I'm married to Allison, and we dated when we were 19, didn't see each other for 36 years because she wanted to have a family and I wanted to see the world with my music. And then we both split from our marriages, and we've found each other, and her sons are full grown, and my songs are all over the place. So I figured it was okay. But when we were dating at 19, and me mostly being a city boy, I'd only played street football. My idea of playing football was, go 10 yards and cut in front of the Buick, lean over the hood. They can't defend that. She was friends with all these guys that worked at the Beverly Dinner Playhouse, the old place, the dinner theater out on the river road. So I got a job there as a waiter with my friend John Herbert, and they would go to the Fly to play football. Now, I've never really gone to the Fly. I'm 19. I've never gone to the Fly to play football. I play in the street.
Right.
I'm an Irish Channel kid. So shirts and skins, and I get on skins. I got to take off my shirt. I'm skinny enough. I don't mind. I take it off. I'm working up a sweat. I fall. My back hits the grass. Now, I don't know if this ever happens to anybody else out there, but I was sweating my grass on my back. It felt like my back was on fire. I wanted somebody to rip the skin off of my back. I'd never played on grass before. I just thought, why do people do this? Play on grass, it does when you're sweaty. And then I got burrs, and then I stepped in an ant pile, and then my first football experience, not in the street, was like, well, that's not as much fun as
it looked like a lot more fun being able to be tackled, but I'd rather just touch. Can we go back to touch, please? Like on concrete, you played touch.
I'd rather fall than football. To be honest, really, I can take I don't know how to tuck and roll. I don't know how to not itch when the grass hits my sweaty skin. So me and nature go back a long way to not to coexist.
Yeah, I see. Do you have any songs about? I guess now that I think about it, I'm trying to think. Do you even have any songs that have like a nice nature sort of theme to them? I guess not. It's not your thing.
Oh, occasionally I was standing near the ocean or staring at the stars, but usually it's to get back to the
you're like the Woody
somehow.
Allen of songwriting, right? It's all about like relationships and talking back and forth and conversations.
Well, it's a questionable.
I guess you're right. Well, I forget.
I don't.
It's the art from the artist. Art from the artist. Sorry, I know it is getting harder and harder to do.
I mean, because Van Gogh was quite unpleasant by all accounts, yet his art is brilliant, and there's been, God knows, plenty of brilliant artists who were sexual deviants. My
experience as an youth with artists was that most of the artists that I thought were brilliant or were either crazy or fucking assholes. It just kind of was a.
That's the problem. See, nobody. I've met few artists who became artists because they weren't tortured people. So to what extent they're responsible for that torture? Now, on the other hand, the late Robert Kennedy once said, "Every man is responsible for his own fate after the age of 40."
That is fair.
Now that's fair. You can say up until you're 40, like my mom screwed me up, or I was raped when I was this age, or whatever. I got beaten until I was this age. But once you're a 40-year-old person, you've had a life experience, and you know the effect that cruelty can have. So the face that you forge from there is your face.
I understand, but see, like, I probably shouldn't have analogized at all. But
I don't know. Like, I'm not taking a stand on it because I wasn't in the room, and I don't know, and to be honest, I don't want to know when I run across the movies. I watch the movies or whatever. I don't. It's between them, and it seems like they're still working it out. As a one-time family unit. They're working it out publicly, but Woody and Sonia have one version, and the other children and Mia have another, and that happens often in divorce. And I don't know, and I think hopefully they have enough money, they can get to therapy, and they have time. They're all still alive. Maybe they can come to some closure.
See, I just realized, Paul, this is the thing. It's like it used to be personal was personal, right? Personal lives were personal lives. And because right now I was just thinking, all right, let's get off the personal life for a minute. And I was just thinking about the art, right? So, Quentin Tarantino and Woody Allen have similar styles, but just very different approaches in the way that they're very talky writers and directors.
It's the information age. You get to know too much, and then so in ways like you're not talking about his art anymore. You're talking about his personal life. For instance, Ted Cruz, who I love, and because he's comedy gold, he goes down to CPAC to make a speech. Now, once again, this isn't being blue or red. This is just like just being real. he makes a joke. He says, it's great to be in Orlando. It's not as
Cancun.
much fun as being in Cancun. He's Canadian. You have to understand he's not
Right.
from Texas. He's from Canada. He immigrated to America and settled in Texas. So he's clearly not really as familiar with the "don't mess with Texas" phrase as those who are born there. Because those who are born there, many of them are still without power. And they might not find that joke so amusing. And he may learn when he gets back to Texas on a very personal level what it means to not mess with Texas. It might be funny to the rich donors in Orlando. It might not be as funny to the Texans who are still without water and power. Maybe it is. Maybe he knows his constituency better than I do. If I was still crapping in a bucket, I wouldn't think it was nearly as amusing. That goes to my problem with nature, Mikey. You know what? I'm laying this on Ted Cruz. That goes back to my problem with being one with nature. If I had to go and do it outdoors, I would be mad at Ted Cruz because I don't want to do it outdoors. I should get over nature and let Ted just go on his cruises to Cancun.
But by the way, do you know anybody who's gone on a cruise?
Man.
Let's talk about cruises, period, right? So I have a friend who went on a cruise to Alaska or something, and I asked him, I was like, do you get off the boat? And he said, well, yeah, you get an hour or something. Like they port somewhere and you get an hour. And I was just thinking about, I mean, even before all of this stuff went down with, you know.
On a lot of cruises, because we used to do the rock boat cruise, which is very big. Well, the first time is great because you're the band and you get a suite and you've never been on a cruise. And so it's great. And it's really like an open jam session. So that part of it's great. But then the food is not so great, really. Buffet style, which when you're on a moving petri dish is a little intimidating. There is one served dinner a night, but then you're supposed to dress formally and you're supposed to be seated with certain people. It's very rule-oriented, which I didn't play rock and roll because I dug rules. So I'm skipping that part of it, you know, and there's a lot more drinking in the room. But you're on a boat. You know, and then you are very aware of germs and you're very aware of closeness and you can't wait for the docks. So you can just run away for a little while. And we got trapped in a tropical storm once and they're really, and just so you know, there actually isn't enough Valium to get you through a tropical storm.
So wait a second. Were you on the boat when the tropical storm or were you on the dock somewhere?
Well, we were not only on the boat, Mikey. Cowboy Mouth was playing and there was a tropical storm. So I had taken, I would say 20 milligrams of Valium to try and settle my stomach because I was getting seasick. 20 milligrams maybe would put you to sleep, but it's a rock and roll time. So that's just to settle your nerve. They knock on the door and they go, it's showtime. And I'm like, there's a tropical storm and I can barely. And they're like, it's showtime. So we're like bouncing off the walls as the storm. We're on the stage, and I can literally like the stage and the microphone is shifting, and I'm just, unfortunately, the Valium has me swaying in rhythm with the thing instead of being like terrorized. I'm just like, yeah, man, we're doing this thing. This is a tropical storm. So fear didn't have a time to take over. You know, I didn't get hit in the face with a microphone, which was nice. And the show ended, and then they said, you know, you can go back to the room, which was great because the boat was still rolling, but I was laying down and everything worked out.
It's not a tropical storm anymore. It's a hurricane. I mean, that was your latest hurricane party, your hurricane concert.
Well, it said it was just a tropical storm, but when you can see a giant boat like that, like stand up and you can see like, hey, there's water, like it tilts and hey, there's water. You're on stage and you're like, hey, there's water. I hope it doesn't keep tilting because that would be a bummer, man.
They don't show movies like The Perfect Storm.
I'm like, ah! But I had to die, unfortunately, so I was like, hey, there's water.
It sounds like when you were doing all of this, it sounds like you were kind of just in the right groove for the whole thing. It's like you caught the right.
Totally, like that was God's hand reaching down to give me those two Valiums to say, you're about to hit something you'll never experience again and just try to enjoy it. So I sailed through a tropical storm. I lived to tell the tale. And it's something that I would not suggest
to others. Keanu Reeves just sort of, oh, Eddie called in. I don't know.
So what time is it?
Decided to call in.
It tells us it is time.
Let me bring
2 minutes with Edward. Which
Now,
yeah, bring him
where's
in.
Paul at? Let's see what happened to Paul. To Paul.
You can't lose me because you got him. That would just
It is
be
kind of
dreadful.
stupid, isn't it? All right, where are you at? All right, let me make you a little bit bigger here.
Yeah.
Something happened. It's always something. Skype is so stupid.
It's like my father used to say, Rosanna, Rosanna, Dana. It was, hey, Eddie, that was like a disappearing act. You took the sweatshirt off and you disappeared for a second and then you came back. I liked it.
Eddie screwed us all up. Where'd Paul go? I just can't find
what's going on
now. Let's see. We did actually yesterday, but today it's decided that it doesn't see your picture. Oh, wait. Eddie hung up? Eddie hung up. Let me go back to us real quick. Oh, there you were, too. I just saw you. It's so weird. Why does it do that all the time? Are you there still, Paul? Yeah, Eddie's back. All right, let me go back to Eddie.
He's here. I can see Eddie.
You see Eddie?
I can see Eddie.
Let me see
me.
If the people
can you hear me?
Now the people can't see either one of you guys. That's hilarious.
I can see in my right-hand corner.
All right, well, there's Eddie.
I can see all.
Try it again.
I can see all.
Let's see if we can find Paul. Well, Eddie, tell us a story while we're trying to figure this out.
Once upon a time.
Well, Eddie, can you tell us how I came up with the name 2 Minutes with Edward?
Because you wanted it to be only 2 minutes.
No, specifically Edward.
Oh, Edward? Edward is that's what I thought my name was until I was 10 years old.
I can see all that again.
Hey, who's watching YouTube?
All right, I'm muted.
Stop it.
I
you can hear it.
I just
Stop watching it.
Let's see.
Yeah, my parents were full-on Yats. So there were a lot of missing R's.
Wasn't that specifically an ad?
Like you would go to my like Christmas, you'd go to my dad's side of the family. They'd be like, "Edward, come give Aunt Bootsy a kiss." Look at little Edward.
So I really must compliment, and we did yesterday in our pre-Skype call, but I must compliment the pandemic hairstyle that you have. The swoop.
Thank you. Years growth right here.
Quite a swoop you have going on.
I got it. Red Bull isn't the only thing that gives you wings. Apparently COVID does too.
And somehow the right side of the head is more tame. The left side of the head is it's free floating.
Well, I think part of this side actually wants to be with the part that's on this side, or vice versa. It changes every day.
It's like you. It's at war with itself.
It is. And it's at the point where it can't be stuffed under a baseball hat anymore.
The right side wants to behave, and the left side wants to be the member of the Osmond Brothers who got kicked out of the band.
Yeah, which one was he, Vinny?
Yeah, Vinny Osmond, I think it's exactly it.
Yeah.
I can't believe you knew that off the top of your head.
Schmuck.
That poor schmuck. He was the best singer, but he just didn't have the look. He had
he had worse luck than that first drummer from the Partridge Family. Whatever happened to that blonde kid?
The little blonde kid, he lasted one season. He was gone.
One season.
And they didn't even bother
as well as the other kid.
They didn't even replace him with a blonde. It wasn't like, he's the same brother. He's different completely, but he's the same.
Yeah.
Maybe
by the way, congratulations on the release of Jet Black and Jealous on vinyl. I love that record.
Thank you, Edward.
You know that when you were bitter. I'm glad you had a second bitter period.
It gave renaissance to the bitterness you love so much in me.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it can only happen when somebody leaves you and lies terribly, and so then you get the bitterness and the songs come. It's a simple process.
I wouldn't know what that's about.
That's because you are the love 'em and leave 'em type, Eddie.
Didn't he though?
I don't know. I don't think any of them were sad to see me go. I think they're all like, whew, shit. About all of that I can take in a bunch. Kathy though, you got to give her credit, man. She's
I asked you. I remember when y'all got married. Y'all been married how long now?
Since 2007. So it's 14 years.
So I asked you, because we traveled together, we toured together many times, and I said, so you're going to start taking care of yourself a little more, eat a little less bacon. And you said, nope. Told her on the wedding night, lifted up my shirt, patted my stomach, and said, take a good look, honey, because it's as good as it gets. It's all downhill from here.
You know, you do my material almost as well as I do.
I had a little country accent. I don't like it.
I don't know where that came from.
I don't know either.
I don't even know what country it was from.
It slid in there. I don't know what happened. I took
By
away
the way, thank goodness for small favors. I'm glad I wasn't working with Cowboy Mouth during the cruise phase, because I would be thinking to myself, I can't believe that I'm going down on a ship with Cowboy Mouth. This can't be happening. You know, the spots we put ourselves in is unbelievable looking back. But yeah. But you know what? You've been best off just clubbing Fred in the head and putting all the gear and everybody on him. You could have at least saved that an amp or two, you know.
But then there was Hawaii, you know.
Hawaii was great, except for the jet lag.
The jet lag was tough, but it went away, and we got to we were there for like 5 days or 4 days. It was fantastic.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, they had some really hot chick from the radio station show up at our hotel with a like a Schwegmann's bag full of
shake.
Just the kindest kind bud shake that you can imagine. Hawaiian. And had so much that literally on the last day, everybody's walking on the beach. You want some? No, I don't want it. I got too much.
Nah.
I got to get
on a plane for 13 hours.
1998. Jesus.
I remember thinking to myself, do I want to get on that plane? Or do I want to just open the doors of this shuttle van right now?
Stay here.
And tuck and roll and just live on the beach.
I remember we were playing, it was a big festival, and Matchbox 20 was on the bill. And we were playing a smaller venue, obviously, than they were. And their lead singer, Rob Schneider, showed up at our, what's his name, Rob? Anyway, Rob showed up at our gig, and he was really drunk, and he's insisting I drink Jägermeister with him on stage, because when we opened for y'all, we were a different name in Columbia, and you got me drunk on Jaeger. And he's so drunk, I can't explain to him. It was Steve Walters and John Griffith. I don't drink that stuff, man. If it was Wild Turkey, I'd have bought the story. But it was specifically Jaeger, which I knew it was either Griff or Steve or both of them. And he was so drunk, he thought it was one person. But it definitely wasn't me. So, Rob Thomas from
There you go. That's a guy from that time.
With August Wilson's name. I'm getting old. I'm scrambling names, you know.
I know. Look at you.
Although I did that when I was young. I was walking on the streets of New York. I was like, I don't know, 25, 26 years old. And I was 24. And I had my girlfriend at the time, who became my first ex-wife, and my friend Ed and his girlfriend, who became his first ex-fiance. And Judd Nelson, who was in the Breakfast Club, walked out of a nightclub with a girl. And I was really excited because I liked the Breakfast Club. And I went, hey, Judd Hirsch. And he looked at me like I was an ass. And I was like, oh, Nelson, I'm sorry. I just do that, man.
Some people can't handle the heights. It goes to their head.
Well, I have a sense of humor.
Yeah. I'm with you on one thing, though. I don't like nature. Eckers don't like nature. I'm allergic to it. It makes me itch.
You know, the city's so nice. I like a city.
Yeah.
It's convenient.
You know what you are? You're a landlocked yat.
But I'm not. I like to look at the water from the land.
Eddie, do you remember when we were traveling with Cowboy Mouth? And yeah, of course. But you know, we were driving in the RV or whatever. Remember, we were going to visit to see the Grand Canyon, but Skeet couldn't get online. His computer online thing didn't work. So remember, we'd go in for like 30 minutes. We'd go in for 30 minutes. I need to get online. I need to get online. We'd have to drive to the freaking line where he could get online again. We got a bar. Let him send his email or whatever the hell he was doing. Then we drove back in. We're just trying to drink beer, smoke weed, and hang out in the goddamn Grand Canyon.
I'm sure that the last thing he did every day was give the Grand Canyon 0 stars on Yelp. No
Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi.
here.
Waste
And that's
of
another
time.
down thing about nature. If there's no Wi-Fi, what the hell's going on? I mean, how do we do this?
I know. There's no place where you can
There's no
call
Uber
and they'll bring
Eats.
you food. Like you have to drive down the mountain
Right.
for like 30 minutes, you know, and then when you get your stuff, you have to drive back up the mountain. You know, by then all the beer's gone.
And the
Yeah,
weed is
so
worn out. You're like, God,
It's just
I need to roll another joint.
Yeah, you're like, not only does this drive too long, but it's so dangerous that it has
Right.
killed my buzz.
This is ridiculous.
Like I'm as sober now as I was in kindergarten, and I could have swore I did 3 bong
And now I'm
rips
sober
before
as
I
a
left
judge. What the
shit
fuck is
out.
going on?
Yeah, like, I'm calculating how much money I wasted. No, that's Griff.
Yeah.
I just go,
Well,
hey Griff, how much money
We
have I
rode
wasted?
horses down the Grand Canyon, and you had to make weight. So our sound man, Adam Cam, was like 12 pounds overweight, and he skipped dinner and jogged 6 miles in the morning so he could make weight. And you had to have a hat with a string on it because it gets windy, and they need you to have a hat because it's sunny. So there's a little store, of course, where they're selling hats. And I put on a little $10 cowboy hat, and our tour manager happened to be my second ex-wife. And she looks at me and she goes, "You are not spending $10 on a cowboy hat. You have a baseball hat. They say you can just put a string through the holes in the baseball hat, and that's fine." So I walk out of the place. I'm all dejected. I end up looking like Billy Crystal in City Slickers.
That's like your mom making you put the hamburger on
Right.
funny bread.
And then she walks out with a
It's never the same.
$40 cowboy hat on. And I'm like, what the hell? And she goes, "Well, I look good." I'm like, "Yeah, you bought the hat." So we get on the horses, and then she's a pretty good horse rider, so she's way up with the guide. And then there's varying degrees of bravery, which is usually towards the end. And I'm at the end, and my horse is like literally, I think his next stop was the glue factory because he was walking as slowly as possible.
Poor Adam, I bet his mule was on suicide watch.
Oh, yeah. And I'm like, everybody else is ahead of him, and the cowboy and my second ex with the $40 hat are riding side by side, and I'm at the bottom like Billy Crystal trying to get this thing to even move. It was one of the least enjoyable Grand Canyon experiences in a blizzard.
You remind me, my daughter, when she was 5 years old, she wanted to have a horse party. We're in Tennessee, so you can actually have a horseback riding birthday party for your child in Tennessee, no problem. So, we set this up, and of course, I'm dad, so I've got to get, the last horse that's left is an old horse who doesn't like carrying people anymore. He's not a happy camper when he has to do this. And normally they try not to bring this guy out, but there were so many, everybody showed up to the damn party, so yeah, we got to bring out old Blackie, and Blackie don't like people, so good luck with that. And this stupid horse kept running me into the branches.
Good thing your feet touched the ground.
Well, that's why I had to bring out the big horse.
Bastard.
So anyway, this guy's like pushing me into the branches every time, and I'm like, "What is up with this horse?" Oh yeah, he doesn't like you. He's just gonna. And there was a branch that was kind of like he could just fit under. He took off at a run to get to this branch. He's like, "I'm taking you out." I'm like down here like this, like ah. It's crazy, man. I'm like, all right, can we wrap this up, please? Can we get to how much longer on the horse?
Never have a birthday party at a horse stable. Do you know what the cake and ice cream tastes like?
It wasn't that bad. They actually,
One
civilized.
guess.
They had a different place where you did the party part of it. They had it worked out. But even so, yeah, it was fun. I guess if I wouldn't have got the old mean horse, probably would have been a little bit more fun.
Hey, your karma is going to be that Molly's going to wind up wanting a horse birthday party.
She already has taken horse lessons. Kathy is so jealous that now Kathy has signed up for horse riding lessons. But now Kathy and Molly are both taking horse riding lessons, which is great because it gets them out of the house because they bother the shit out of me.
It's great until they say, "Hey, Dad, you got to come and ride the horses."
I'm having the worst Corona time. I used to have the house to myself to be able to do what I wanted. Now I got to take care of a kid, and my wife can't go anywhere, and it's all just like there's too many people. You know, it's hard for us to kind of. Fortunately, there's only 3 of us, and there are 3 levels to the house, so everybody can kind of get their own space. But you know, you can't. It's hard to get into any kind of like musical creative groove when you're being stopped every 45 minutes to make a snack.
So what you're saying is you won't be joining them on horseback.
Oh hell no! I already ride a horse like a prince of the realm. I don't need lessons. I'm descended from aristocracy.
Nice.
But I told my mother-in-law anyway.
And she bought it.
Yeah. She let me marry her daughter.
Amy told us that she enjoyed the.
Oh, what? Oh, my God. I'm looking at the clock. Paul, dude, I went over my 2 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up. We're wrapping up with you in. I was going to say, Amy Beer enjoyed her cruise that she went on, the Rockboat 04. It wasn't the one you were discussing, but she said she had a lot of fun on that one. Were you there for Rockboat 04?
I think I was. I did like probably 4. And there was some fun nights, like the all-night jam sessions are great. The band members jumping on each other's stages are great. The musical part of it is really very interactive and very fun.
Just to be on the boat the whole time.
Dude, I know that you were still with Cowboy.
Yeah, it did it. The Rock the Boat people did it one year in Park Slope as a ski thing, Rock the Slopes. And I really enjoyed that because there was a bit more freedom. You had the same kind of late night jams and you had the same kind of interaction, but you weren't trapped in the same container. You had the movement of being in a city.
Yeah. And I know you were still with Cowboy Mouth because Beaten Path, Mike and I opened for you on the last show you played with Cowboy Mouth.
Which was December 19th. No,
in
November.
Baton Rouge at the Chimes.
No, that's the night I quit. I still had to give 2 weeks. I had my last gig was in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. It was
I'm not going to Hattiesburg again.
No, there's no real reason better now that I know of.
That was exciting stuff. That was like, you know, we were in our matching
Amy says you were there because
blazers.
That's the reason she went. Was to see you guys. So, and
there you go.
All right, well, bye, guys.
Bye, Edward.
Congratulations on another podcast, and I really enjoyed seeing
I think
the
we're
Griff
going to go ahead and say goodbye. How Paul's it about that
we're
time?
gonna have to we're going to say goodbye.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Later, Edward.
Bye, Edward.
Bye.
And I guess I'll play our music.
Well, we're going to have Luis from Chicago. We're going to have Chicago Lou on Friday. And this time I have some superhero questions. I let him off easy last time. I let him give a brief review of WandaView, and we talked a little cosplay. But I have some tough issues I'd like to bring up with him. Like, what is this whole multiverse thing? I think I like you got the what is it, the virtual reality, now you got the meta reality. Now he's got the Marvel verse, now the Marvel's got a multiverse, and from what I understand, Michael Keaton is going to be playing Batman.
Wait,
now,
stop.
Michael Keaton's got to be close to 70 years
not
old.
Marvel, that's DC.
No.
So, yes.
Okay, well then DC. So whatever, I need to know Spider-Man, there's going to be 2 different Spider-Men playing Spider-Man. I could be more confused. Is this going to be Ben Affleck is going to be Batman and Michael Keaton's going to be Batman? We're just going to cast anybody who's ever been in the role so we can get every fan who ever watched, or is there a reason behind this?
Have you been watching
I have
WandaVision?
hard questions for.
Okay, well that's why you don't know.
No,
it's being set up.
I did watch the United
not
States
yet.
versus Billie Holiday. Have you seen that?
Me and my wife have been talking because that's
when
Strange
you watch
Fruit.
It, we'll
that was the stuff we were talking about the other day with Strange Fruit and.
Yeah. It's directed by Lee Daniels, a fantastic director. The young woman who plays her, she's a singer, not an actress, but she's brilliant. She's elegant and royal on stage, and she's tortured and beaten off stage. It's just a wonderful movie about her struggles and her honesty and her courage in singing that song as early as
Mark, I
she
agree
did.
with you. Mark said that, when you get out on the water, it gives you a huge respect for the explorers and their rickety boats. And when you actually get out on the water,
I've been out on a wooden sailboat. I've been on a 60-foot wooden sailboat in Hawaii. A friend of ours took us out. And once you are out there in a wooden boat, you have a whole new respect for the guys that did that because it's tiny. The ocean, big old place. And Hawaii is just a spot.
Right.
A boat is like a splinter off the spot. you know, and then you're sitting there going, hey, when are we turning around? House this is pretty, but it's really much further out than I thought.
Is that land or is that just the horizon? I mean, it happens to me on the causeway. So there's a certain point in the causeway where I'm like, I can't see land anymore. I'm a little freaked out for a second. Not for long, but
yeah, imagine not being on land when that happens. It's less fun than you imagine. Although seeing flying fish is awesome. All the stuff, the moments are awesome. But you know, storms are a drag, and then sort of like your tiny place in the universe becomes readily apparent.
The movie All Is Lost with Redford.
I did. Right. Yeah, I did. That was
you know
pretty
what's interesting about
actually.
that? It's like the screenplay is 50 pages long. Now, you know, generally screenplays are like 100 pages long. It's like basically it's a minute per page is what they kind of. Anyway, yeah, they said it was, and that was the thing that got me. But yeah, it's just, man, that movie is gripping. Like if you put yourself in that where he's at, it's like it's crazy.
Well, you see, that would never happen to you or I, because there's no point in my life at which I ever wanted to or will ever want to make a long distance sailing trip alone.
I have too much imagination. I'd be like, we'd get pirates like right out of the gate.
There's just nothing I seek. If I want some solitude, I know where to find that with land around me. First of all, it's inside of me. The world I need is inside of me if I just look and listen hard enough. And secondly, you know, it's no, I really don't. I really don't. And so my hat is off to the people who do. There are people who have told me that, you know, there are people who jump out of planes and who've gone on those kinds of trips who tell me they'd be terrified to stand on stage and speak or sing. So, okay, fair enough. We you know, you have your fear, I have mine. But I do promise that you will never see the movie of Paul Sanchez alone in the ocean.
But you're willing to play that part, right? I mean, if you had to put yourself in that character.
It comes up in a film, sure, but I haven't really gotten a role that size yet. I'm limited to 2 or 3 lines, and none of them have asked me back. So I have to think that somebody liked me in that one moment and said, "Oh, I know that guy. He could probably use this. It won't hurt if he's in it." But I'm hoping that I'm not the reason my appearance as Detective Dillard isn't the reason that NCIS New Orleans got canceled.
It couldn't have been.
It happened the next season. So I'm hoping it was a pandemic and not somebody going, Jesus, have we scraped the bottom of the barrel with this guy?
Well, what I thought was so fun about that show is like 1 minute you're at the airport and the next minute you're downtown, right? It's like you turn a corner and you're downtown. And being as we're from here, I know that's.
Well, that's you know.
I get it.
That's like when I'm watching a movie in New York with my New York friends. They inevitably, like, it'll be some movie I love, and I'll be watching from New York, and they'll just be like, "Ah, man, I'm just like, don't ruin it for me." You know? It's movie magic. I don't want to know that's not geographically
my point I was making is because I have heard that from people from New York, because so many shows are filmed there, right? And so it's always like, you know, oh yeah, you can't turn from there to that's on the other side of town. But it was funny seeing it.
Well, the only thing that bothers me is when every single thing that shoots down here has a Mardi Gras scene. Because Mardi Gras, when I was growing up, used to just happen at Mardi Gras time. And now, not only is it not considered Mardi Gras time, people from elsewhere have moved down and insisted it's no longer Mardi Gras time. Mardi Gras is a day. It's carnival time. I'm like, that's nice, but my friend Rick Gernhauser's father used to yell at every float, "Hey, Mardi Gras! Hey, Mardi Gras!" He didn't yell, "Hey, throw me something." He yelled, "Hey, Mardi Gras!" So now there's all these rules that never used to exist. And now there's beads all year round. There's Mardi Gras Day. There's king cakes all year round. There was a time and place for shit.
No.
I don't know how we got off on the tangent. What the hell were we talking about? We're wrapping up and somehow we're not.
Being in one scene and then suddenly being in another scene, and you said the Mardi Gras scenes in movies. And you're right, man. If you go through those old movies, especially, every single one of them, there's a Mardi Gras scene.
Yeah.
And he's trying to find the guy. He's got to go through Mardi Gras. He's getting through all the people, and you know.
Because you know there's always a Mardi Gras parade in the French Quarter. But anyway.
For people who don't live here, it happens every 2 weeks. Friday, Mardi Gras happens, parades, the whole 9. Right.
Why not? Why not? Although not during the pandemic. Please don't come. So we'll be joined on Friday by our friend Chicago Lou, where I have some hard questions. We had our friend Edward today, and our guest Monday will be two-time Tony Award winner, Mr. Michael Cerverist, star of stage, screen, and recording studio.
Well, no.
Well, not just 9 Lives. I mean, he's
our fans
Tony's
know 9 Lives, so yeah, we have. That's
well,
right.
Our dozen fans know 9 Lives, but his many fans know his many appearances. He was in The Fringe. Did you watch The Fringe?
New show by the same showrunner. Oh, what?
He was The Observer.
Really? No kidding. Oh, no shit.
Bald guy,
all right, now I got to watch it again because I didn't realize that was him. But by the way, that showrunner just released a new show. My wife was telling me about it. Now I can't remember what the name of it is. Anyway, there's a new show. Same showrunner just came out on NBC this weekend. Debris.
Did you ever see a movie Cirque du Freak?
Yeah.
He plays Mr. Tiny, the big fat guy.
You're kidding me. Wow.
Yeah, they put him in a 500-pound fat suit in New Orleans in August.
Yeah, that can't be any fun.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on the show on Monday.
Sounds good.
We got to wrap it up, Mikey. Let's get to the music, and let's say we'll see y'all, whoever wants to tune in.
Next time. We'll see you on Friday, guys. Thank you so much.
Well, I used to keep my money in a cookie jar. It was shaped like a cat, it was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, her hair is as black as an alleyway, and it used to be red, and it used to be blonde. Truth is, her hair changes color all the time. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, I'm staring at her shoulder, but it's not what I see.